Hey, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle coming to you from the Draft.com studios, or maybe it's the Draft.com club. It's been a long time since I've gotten hyped in the club like that, but I figured it was only fitting because we are talking about post-hype sleepers for 2019. Before we jump into all that information for you, though, a couple of real quick reminders. We're doing some giveaways right now. We've got 2 signed jerseys that we're giving away. The first one is a signed Keenan Allen jersey. If you want more information on that, Jake's wide receiver rankings video, head back over to that. He's going to give you all the details there. If you want a shot at our signed Alvin Kamara jersey, all you got to do is you got to buy a draft guide. Head to thefantasyheadliners.com. $19.99 gets you one of the best deals on draft guides this season. Almost 500 pages worth of information. Go out there, buy your draft guide, get a chance to win a jersey. Why not do it? So we've got 3 post-hype sleepers that we're going to talk about in this episode. Let's jump into it. All right, my first post-hype sleeper is going to be Royce Freeman from the Denver Broncos. And this was a guy that was going in the 4th and 5th round of redraft leagues last year because a lot of people, myself included, thought he was going to win that job outright. Well, Philip Lindsay jumped in and said, not so fast. So let's talk about why we should be investing in Royce Freeman again this year. So with Royce Freeman, his ADP is currently at 87.1. That makes him the running back 37 off the board. The problem with Freeman last year wasn't him, though. It was how he was utilized. When he was on the field, he faced a stacked box 36.15% of the time. That was second most in the NFL. Compare that to Philip Lindsay. He only saw a stacked box 14.06% of the time. That's a huge difference. When Freeman was on the field, teams knew the Broncos were going to be running the ball. When Lindsay was on the field, the Broncos had a much more balanced approach with the game calling. Freeman, even with those stacked boxes, was still able to average 4 yards per carry last season, which is actually outstanding considering how often he had to face 8 men in the box. The Broncos, for their offensive coordinator this year, hired Rich Scangarello, who doesn't have a long track record. He's been mostly a college coach, but for the last 2 seasons, he's been the quarterback coach for Kyle Shanahan. Now, Kyle Shanahan led offenses have finished in the top 15 of rushing attempts in 5 of the last 7 seasons. The Broncos finished 21st in rushing attempts last year. And even finishing 21st in rushing attempts, Philip Lindsay was still able to finish as the RB12 in half PPR leagues. So if we bump that up and we say, okay, the Denver Broncos realistically are going to be giving the running backs a longer or a bigger workload in 2019, let's assume that there's going to be more than enough work for both Freeman and Lindsay. And let me tell you, the reports out of training camp right now are that Royce Freeman looks a lot better as a pass catcher. So Philip Lindsay's still going to be doing a lot of things, but I highly, highly believe that Royce Freeman is also going to get very, very involved in that game plan, both catching the ball and running the football. So if this is a guy that you can invest in because of his ADP being where it is, if you can invest in him as your running back 4, I think that's a wise investment this year because it is a gamble that could end up paying off for you. All right, post-hype sleeper number 2 is one of my favorite wide receivers this year, a guy that I'm trying to add to all of my teams, and it's Anthony Miller from the Chicago Bears. Let me tell you why he is a guy that needs to be on your team in 2019. Anthony Miller right now, ADP of 133.5, wide receiver 53 off the board. Now, you may not know this, but Miller played through a shoulder injury through all of 2018, or for a majority of 2018. Going back and reading through some of the things Miller said about last season, he could tell you at least 5 or 6 different times during a game where he dislocated his shoulder and he had to have it pop back into place. Now, he could have stopped. He could have had the surgery to fix it so it didn't keep popping out. However, he didn't. He wanted to finish the season. He had the surgery in January. He's going to be ready to go for camp and for the season. So this is a guy that is healthy now. Through his first 10 games last season, Anthony Miller had 29 receptions for 398 yards and 5 touchdowns. But that injury, the rest of the way, 7 receptions, 59 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But let me tell you something about Anthony Miller. He's just not going to be a one-trick pony. He's going to be a guy that can do a lot of different things. Let's talk about him in the red zone. Last season, he had 7 receptions on 11 targets that led to 5 touchdowns. That was tied for the team lead, and a 13.41% target share in the red zone. That was 3rd best on the team. But something that I really like about Anthony Miller that I can't show you with stats is how he plays the game. Now, you don't have to take it from me. A guy that is way smarter than I am, if you don't know who he is, Matt Waldman on Twitter, was talking about these things the other day, and I found it awesome that he tweeted that because these were things that I had ready to go for this show anyway. So if you want to back that up and go over to Twitter and find Matt Waldman, he's going to tell you a lot of the things that I was also going to say about Anthony Miller and his way to play physical out of the slot. A lot of times when you think of a slot wide receiver, they're not really the big physical guys, but Anthony Miller can be that physical guy in the slot, on the outside, whatever you want to do with him, but mainly in the slot. And that's what I love about Anthony Miller. He's also an excellent route runner. Anthony Miller is going to be, in the next couple of years, one of the best route runners in all of football. And this year, in 2019, he's being criminally underrated. People are taking Allen Robinson over him right now. And even though I like Allen Robinson, and I think that he has a pretty decent ADP, Anthony Miller could very well be the wide receiver 1 on the Chicago Bears by the end of the season. And next year when you draft him, we're going to be talking about him potentially in some of the same ways we've talked about Jarvis Landry in the past. It might be a little bit of a bold prediction, but I'm telling you all, I love Anthony Miller. Get him on your team this year so you can be one of the ones that say, hey, I was on Miller before he broke out. All right, my last one for you is basically a post hype sleeper. And Buffalo Bills wide receiver Zay Jones. Now, let me tell you something about Zay Jones. When he came out of the draft, he was highly regarded as one of the best wide receivers in the draft. He was taken over Juju Smith-Schuster. He was taken over Kareem Hunt. Zay Jones was a guy that a lot of people bought into, and in rookie drafts, he was basically a first-round pick. He teetered right there on that 12-13 ADP in rookie leagues, or in dynasty leagues and rookie drafts. But way back then, 2 years ago, and I'm going to put this clip here up on the screen real quick, I wrote about Zay Jones. And at that time, I wrote about Zay Jones being out of position, that he didn't have the breakaway speed on the outside to be an outside receiver, and that because that was what the Buffalo Bills were trying to do with him, he was not going to be successful. Well, fast forward now, in end of 2018, this is a guy that has now moved to the slot. Now, again, the reason for his slow start to his career, because in my opinion, he was playing out of position. He's going to be more in the slot now. And one thing that I think that we are going to see in 2019 is some 4 wide receiver sets there in Buffalo. Their tight end situation isn't great. So I believe that we're going to see more wide receivers on the field, less tight ends, and then we're going to see those pass catching running backs as well. But last season, after a Week 12 game against Jacksonville where he had 1 target and no catches, weeks 13 through 17, he averaged 8.4 targets per game, 3.8 receptions per game, and 52 yards per game. And in those 5 games, 5 touchdowns. And in the red zone last year, as I just talked about with Anthony Miller a moment ago, Zay Jones last year, 7 for 16 in the red zone last season with 5 touchdowns. He had a 47.06% target share for the Buffalo Bills in the red zone last year. Not only was that first, but the next closest player was Robert Foster, or as we like to call him here, the tax man Bob Foster. His target share was 11.76. So Zay Jones, like I said, a post-hype sleeper. And if you believe in Josh Allen in any way, shape, or form, and I know, pump the brakes, Kyle, you're getting ready to say some nice things about Josh Allen. You've never done that before. But if you believe in Josh Allen in any way, shape, or form, then Zay Jones is a guy that you should buy. If you're buying Robert Foster, then you should be buying Zay Jones. I've bought Robert Foster in some leagues already because I know of the arm strength for Josh Allen. He needs to get better as a quarterback. He needs to work on that accuracy. He's got a lot of things that he needs to get better on. But I do know and I understand that there is some potential there. And if he can work on that accuracy, Bob Foster might be your big play guy on the outside this year. But Zay Jones is going to be a target monster for this Buffalo Bills team. The best part about Zay Jones, He's going undrafted. You can spend your very last pick on Zay Jones. Who cares? Don't draft a kicker. Draft Zay Jones in 2019. All right, there you have it. Hopefully you stuck around through my dancing at the beginning of the show to make it to the very end of the show. And I'll tell you what, if this video can get 1,000 likes and 1,000 comments, then I will convince Jake to have a dance-off with me live on the Fantasy Headliners game day before one of our weekly shows here on Sunday coming up this season. I'll try to convince him to have a little bit of a dance-off, and we're going to have some fun with it. So 1,000 likes, 1,000 comments. Tell us who you think the better dancer is. Do you think it's Kyle or myself, or do you think it's Jake? Let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button, and more importantly, if you are new to the show, first time watching, hit that subscribe button. Become a part of Headliner Nation today. And if you do, let me know in the comments below, because I want to personally welcome you to one of the greatest communities that you're going to find on YouTube. Thanks so much for checking out this show, and I'll catch you on the next one.